Welcome back to the Nerd Street Gamer First Strike Qualifier. Of course, we are still within the open stage of the bracket. For the closed stage, you'll have to come back next week, as we will be getting things kicked off there. But for now, Ryan, we're looking at the match that's just gone by. It started off in a relatively close position and well ended with TSM basically dominating.
Yeah, it was a really good look from TSM, 100 Thieves. This was the map that they wanted to play on. Didn't really have the opportunity to sort of grow into the map and start to shine. And because of that, it just Team Solo Mid could just continue to push on beyond there. And everybody seemed to have a good game. There is more to play, of course. I think Haven is the next map that we're going to. And it's certainly a map that can go either way. We saw some amazing clutches out of 100 Thieves in their game against Moon Raccoons that went into overtime and finished in dramatic fashion. And if 100 Thieves can take this map, we'll be going to Split, where anything can happen, as we saw from the T1 game a little bit earlier on. So certainly not out of the woods yet, but I do think the TSM have shown quite a lot of people that they aren't to be slept on in a lot of cases. We've seen a shock result with Sentinels. I don't know if we're going to see a shock result here, to be honest.
Yeah, of course, with the Sentinels results, we're still questioning, like, what sort of happened there. Like, was that Genji playing very well, which I think it was, or also was it Sentinels having a little bit of fun, which I also think was true. At the same time, for 100 Thieves, this is still like a testing ground. We know that this is a team that is probably going to be one of the best teams in North America at a time. We don't know when that will be. We don't know how long that's going to take. But with the roster they've currently got, I don't think there's any real doubts that this is going to end up being a strong team. Like, you've pulled experience from Counter-Strike and then a couple of youngsters coming in. The problem is, in that match, there was definitely a lot to be desired. Now, it's worth noting that the last time we saw this sort of matchup played, or one of the other times we saw it played on Ascent at least, Hiko dropped 26 kills when they were facing off against Dignitas, which I want to say, going 26-4 in a match is absolutely ridiculous. But the fact is, in this sort of situation, he wasn't quite able to put up those same sort of numbers. And that's where you need the young stars. That's where you need Dicey to really perform. Asuna, who had a couple of moments to step up. And even the likes of Nitro, for example, I would expect better from him. Now, as said, it's relatively new in terms of this roster. So I think we can definitely cut them a little bit of slack, especially considering this is still the open stage. They're already through to the closed stage. So realistically, I'm not saying it doesn't matter, because seeding is obviously important. But chances are we should see a better sort of situation from most teams when it comes to the closed stage.
And looking at the average damage, the ADR for all of the players, you could see just how close they were to basically getting a frag a game. Sabrosa had an ADR of 148, which shows that a lot of these rounds weren't necessarily flawless from either sides. It was scrappy. They traded heavily. And on a map like Haven, that is going to be amplified. There's going to be a lot of 1v1s. You are going to see players like Nitro, like Steel, try to lurk in various positions to push through. And yeah, I imagine that we're not going to see some of the key defaults and executes that both these teams are practicing that they haven't used yet. But you still expect both of them to try and play for the win at this point. And I think it is an opportunity for 100 Thieves to make this a much closer game. You'd at least hope so, because they are defending first. Like I mentioned, if they win, we got to Split, but I think TSM are going to play around this in a smart way. It's just whether 100 Thieves can have the map lead going into halftime. They need to have a solid defense.
Well, either way, we are going to be rolling right into things here. It is going to be the second map. TSM have taken their opponent's choice, Ascent, one that they're more than competent at playing, and now they head into their choice, one where, well, basically, I feel like you have to fear Wardell on this map. I think he is a true beast. We see a switch up from Drone as well to have more entry frag and prowess. He's got the cheeky Phoenix out with those ever powerful flashes, and I think we should even see some better numbers from him. And this is a very aggressive start. Straight away taking presence in mid, control being gathered, but they have lost the early pick on the other side.
I like this push. They're going through A link, but still going to be hitting the A site. Might try and catch off these defenders, but there's so many of them. I don't think they expected 3 people to be stacked there, but still able to get the first kill. Could even get the second. Did he expect the Sova to be on the back of the site? Well, the shock darts are certainly going to give it away. The plant is still going to be straightforward enough to go onto A. And you have this lurking Phoenix and Jet now. 100 Thieves are kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place trying to make something happen, but Hiko even taking that 1v1 up against Subrosa. Still awkward for them to try and even go for this, but Steel has found a nice little route.
The thing is, though, this pincer that they've still got the 2 players around in middle, and then they've also got the players within the site. Nitro does manage to pick off 1, though. However, Wardell still being here is just wasting time. They need to kill him off. They need to clear his position. And he's still standing, waiting. But they've actually just tried to bypass him. Ready to push in. And eventually he can close him out. Another kill comes in for Nitro in his left. All onto Cutler. And he can't get anything done. The time, though, I don't think it's going to be close enough. I think the spike's going off, so it's been wasted. Steel will go up with the ship. And although Hiko will survive, well, all he's really saved is a ghost.
And it was just a positioning that TSM were taking towards B that put off 100 Thieves for even going for that in some cases. It was a nice play, a solid execute that you hope to see more of. And it's something that Asuna and Dicey tried to do themselves, just sticking as a pair, pushing somewhere aggressively. And considering that it was Asuna that got first blood in that round, good way for TSM to turn it around. The execute worked out perfectly. Looking to be hitting B again in a similar fashion. Steel is willing to give up the whole site just alone with a turret and playing close because they just don't have the economy. They're just holding sheriffs at most.
I'm somewhat interested to see what buy TSM have gone for here, because we saw when it came to the last map of Ascent, they went very heavy on their rifles because the closer range battles weren't something they were really attempting. This time, though, SMGs galore. The Spectre coming out, but there is a force on the other side, so they do have to be a little bit wary. I imagine it's Dicey currently saving the extra cash to make sure he can get an operator when needed. The problem is, as you mentioned, this somewhat risky setup. Something you kind of have to do when you got pieces missing, but it means there's going to be so much positioning available on the site before they can even think about getting back into it.
They've been so passive on this A retake.
Spike planted.
The expectation isn't going to be much at this point. And TSM, because they know they have gun advantage, and with the Phantom, are going to play some very aggressive angles.
Blocking sight.
100 Thieves just don't seem interested in it. They're still pushing towards places like Heaven, but on A-Link, for example, they're rotating around to B. It's really a case of trying to get some of these guns that TSM have really hard bought into away from them. Go again in the 3rd round.
Seems like they're happy to throw in a few of the players that didn't invest much into this round at all. Maybe make it look a bit like it was an eco stack. Instead, though, now they're starting to run into some of the SMGs. The paranoia, even looking to try and hold them back, and the spike is getting close to going off. And Nitro's just domed too with the Sheriff as well. At least making things very costly, but they do lose some of their own weaponry along the way. And because of that, there can't really be much of an investment in this round. It's just going to be what they save. So you've still got the Ares available. You've still got a little bit of extra cash that they can spend into this round. But ultimately, this should still be another one looking good for TSM.
Ego was considering picking up a Phantom, but decided against it. Ares is still going to be in play from Dicey, so very much a mixed buy. TSM are going to be trying to push a bit more aggressively towards C-Long. Dro might be leading the way, doing the whole curveball outside of the smoke. And Nitro is going to be holding super close within it. I might not be expecting him to just literally be sat around the smoke, but he does have Asuna to help. The Ultron hasn't spotted him, so he's got a great opportunity to get a couple of frags, and he does that. He can at least get 2 before Subrosa gets him, but Dicey can peek off of it and get the trade. It's a 2 versus 2. The guns don't really look that good for 100 Thieves, as it's a ghost in the hands of Hiko.
Take flight.
They're just going to wait for Steel and play for the retake at this point.
Enemy mark.
And the problem is he's got a hell of a lot of trips to get through, and they're going to know that he's coming. They know there's one on the flank, and any 2 players should have that info. Wardell, the fast peek out. Now it is left all onto Hiko. Again, rough clutch position to be in, especially only with a ghost. Needs an almost double dink just to give himself a chance, but any extra cost would be valid here. However, now stuck in the
No
mud.
more.
Both players just waiting patiently, and eventually TSM do convert. Definitely more costly than I think they would have liked it to be, but ultimately it's still the 3-0 start, and I think that's all that's really going to matter to TSM.
The players that died can still get full armor and the assault rifle of their choice. It's 3-0 though to TSM in the first real full proper buy that we've seen out of 100 Thieves. They have it from the Shadows to work with Nitro, but it's the Hunter's Fury from Cutler that I'm expecting. Just a nice deep recon bolt, maybe catching Hiko on this corner on C, shooting across. Because 100 Thieves have been holding really close. In fact, actually, Asuna is just going to push at this point. He's able to get a nice flash in onto Drone. And he's just been hit by so much. If he could get a frag hit, that'd still be big. But the pressure that TSM are putting him under, he can't even get that.
Yeah, again, the openers gone firmly in TSM's favor. Now, Steel has been able to gain a little bit of map control, but the problem being, can't really push much further. Traps are set. Make sure that he can't, and Hayes still watching around all of these angles, making sure that his team is still safe if they are going to go pushing into the C site. But for now, with the man advantage, all really TSM have to do is wait. I'm expecting 100 Thieves to make some sort of risky rotation, and, well, for now, they're just being patient.
I like the hold that Steel has, but it's a lot of map control, but not very much intel on exactly what's going to happen. To the point that he goes forced to use a recon bolt, and that's kind of a ghost sign for TSM because they know that they can't really get that intel easily. Hiko sitting in the smoke, but I'm more curious about, at this point, what Nitro's going to do. He's right in tunnel, looking towards C and backing off to try and keep together. Are they going to save? Are they just trying to push from the back of C? Seems more likely that they're just going to sit, try and get a frag onto the person that's on the back of C site. That would be Sub-Rosa. They can molly him out, at least do a little bit of damage, but not really enough as he's able to just scoot out of it. He's even going to teleport away just to make sure that he doesn't lose this gun. It's a big dedication, but it shows that TSM really do respect the economy of this game and don't want to give it up. But the issue is, you have nobody on site now. We're just going to rely on Cutler to try and at least stop the defuse. He can't get a frag, but you would imagine at this point 100 Thieves can't go for the defuse.
Oh my goodness! He's just gonna stick it all the way! It's so close, but all the kills end up coming the way of Haste, in fact. A triple spray down. I'm sure there was a few anxious TSM fans in that moment that was gonna slip away. That's normally why you do have that one player sat at the back of site, just to make sure that situations like that can't happen. Definitely a little bit too close for comfort, but again, it's still 4-0 in favor of TSM. And on the other side of things, unfortunately, we're going to be back to pistols once more. So I feel like the excitement might die down a little bit here, Ryan.
Yeah, if Cutler didn't have that Hunter's Fury, it would have been a very different round. And I like the fact that 100 Thieves responded so quickly to that and realized there was an opening. Certainly put TSM under a lot of pressure, but their money's still good. They have the ult advantage. The Bladestorm is going to be used on the side of 100 Thieves. It's very patient. The running back is available on the side of Asuna too. So both these duelists have their ults available, but on a buy like this, Nitro's been insane with the Sheriff, but even then, you can only expect so much out of him, at least at this point. It's just tried to do what you can for TSM.
Yeah, the fact is, if things get going a little bit, you might see something out from the jet zone. It has been popped. It's around where it's definitely understandable to use it. See if he can get some damage done. Maybe steal around away. Nice start. That's a good spike drop, but maybe not expecting such a deep position from Wardell. Well, Steel has gained information that there is at least a player within the garage, but realistically, he's not going to get anything. 4-man save as well, more importantly. And even the turret can't kill off Sub-Rosa after the round is done.
Steel with the lockdown. Might be a great way to play for a retake, but just feel that TSM are aware of this, and we saw that from Gen G early with Sentinels. They knew that certain ultimates were coming online for Sentinels, and they played around it. They played in different positions. They tried to counter certain ultimates being used. The Steeler's going to be playing close on A. He's going to lurk and try to take as much ground as he possibly can. The issue is, wouldn't you want to keep him alive for the retake? If he gets caught out here, even, it'd be a big miss. But TSM slowing down the pace, have a lot of mid control. It is keeping the attention of 100 Thieves. Everybody looking in that general direction. The Eldron is going to be the opening for Sabrosa to at least get some information on where people might be playing from the garage. He's forcing out a lot of utility just from standing here.
Yeah, no, an awful lot. The thing is, though, they've also utilized every single one of their flashes, so it's a bit of a stalemate. We see the Paranoia expended, but then Throne using his curveballs and actually going to get tagged up here.
charges left.
Taking quite a bit of damage through the back of the doors. Sure, he can heal himself up. But still, a lot of time has been, well, burnt off the clock. The defense this time far more passive, not giving any jewels over to the side of TSM.
30 seconds
They
left.
have been fantastic on the openers. Dicey holding the angle. This is a shot you wouldn't necessarily expect him to miss. That said, the flashes are already dissipated. They don't have any more of those, so Dicey's given a chance to roam free. No blind this time, and it's 3 kills for him on the site hold. It's a first round for 100 Thieves, and Dicey is the one leading the charge.
Hitting C-Long like that on the side of TSM, you need to have those flashes. Even if you flash out of a smoke, it's a great way to execute. And good read from Dicey just to keep an eye on that angle. Looking to more play towards either B or even could be in garage to get a bit of information towards grass or even a frag. But 100 Thieves haven't really opened up the rounds with these kills. They haven't been able to get first blood very early on into a round like this. Seems they want to face just a little bit more, but TSM wanted to maybe work towards the extremities instead of mid this time. And it's really a case of tossing and turning, pulling and pushing. 100 Thieves are quite good to not overreact in some cases. But a lot of space has already been taken from the Phoenix on the side of TSM. Drone is lurking hard here.
He doesn't have his ultimate, so can't try anything too spicy on the openers. In fact, it's actually his opponent of Asuna who could try and make a play here. A lot of the time we do see the run it back utilized for purely information purposes. They do also have a lockdown though. And especially from this corner that Steel's currently sitting in, he can make this take of the A site very, very awkward. And more importantly, make a chance at a retake much higher by forcing them out of the site. And that's exactly what he's going to be doing. He's waiting for his teammates to get in. Now he forces them off the site. And actually, Asuna has just gone running straight in. They want this round. They've committed a hell of a lot of ultimates to try and make sure they gain some space. I like this though from Cutler. He's trying to destroy it from a distance. Nitro's going to go sneaking through though, and that's a double spray down. It leaves it all on to 2. And in fact, they've just let the spike
player remaining.
It is all done. 100 Thieves get a second round in a row. Even kill Drone off after the round is finished.
So many ultimates used, like you mentioned, though. Very knee-jerky as well. When the plan came in, the Killjoy ultimate went down, Lockdown went down, Hunter's Fury blew on through, even the run it back from Asuna. There's 3 big ultimates all used to clear and retake one site. The TSM are going to be happy they kept the operator as well as Wardell survived, so no damage to the economy in that fashion at least. Going to be hitting A pretty hard. Wardell's going to make sure that Steel doesn't lurk too much into him. He's got the right idea though, as look at the space that Steel has tried to push, but Asuna is trying to spray through the cyber cage and trying to at least hold on to some ground. Don't want to play retake here. Want to punish TSM if they go in this direction. And look how low the Cypher is. Look how low Hazed is when it comes to his health. Even though it gets a bit of information on what's on the A site.
Definitely not the start they were looking for, but there's no more ultimates to bail 100 Thieves out of these situations. It's gonna come down to the battles See within the round. Cutler, oh, he's been spotted out. Both players trying to aggress onto his position, but he's just denying the control. And in fact, the spike, in the meantime, is going back towards the C side. And last time, they did have some struggles when it came to Dicey on that operator, but this time they've got a sneaky little wraparound. So Broza looking to come back in from behind. He's found the first. He's got to be careful though. But actually, Hiko's left blind as well, and they just ruin every member of this C site. The remaining two players, Ryan, they've got no choice. Surely they've just got to try and hold on to some weaponry here, or at least make things very costly for TSM.
The issue is with Steel's playstyle as well. He's very much anchored to the site in a lot of cases. Just in case there's a bait and switch over to him, he can respond to that. But it does mean that he's so far away when his retakes come in. Realistically, 100 Thieves are, of course, not really going to go for this. They just want to get some exit frags at most. But I'd like to see 100 Thieves be a bit more reactive. It was well played from Subroza to make all of that space for himself. Bit unlucky for Hiko to be flashed in that moment in time. But Steel, look at this, he's going for the defuse. It's going to be a spray-in, but you got to admit the try. It's just an interesting take considering he was over on A, moved in slowly, and then went for the defuse.
The way that bar went up, I don't know if that was just on my screen. I was thinking, has he got some super power diffuse as well? He's got magic hands that can just diffuse it extra quick. But unfortunately, that's not the case. I like the effort. I like the attempt. And especially with how their defense is going so far. I could understand the reasoning of wanting to try and steal around away. It almost worked out for them previously as well, with Hiko attempting the defuse in front of his opponents on C, but Subroza was ready and waiting to complete his triple, and I like this. 100 Thieves have had enough of being passive, had enough of giving them those early picks. This time, Dicey takes the kill, but more importantly, Ryan, he leaves Nitro behind.
The Eldron might give up his position. It is going to do so. Even the Eldron double takes. Wasn't expecting Nitro to be there. Most importantly, they took Drone out of the server when he had the run it back and wanted to use it aggressively on C. So 100 Thieves being a lot more proactive, but look at the space that Subroza's taking. Hiko just wasn't expecting him to be there. The alarm bot didn't catch him because it was smoked. He's reading these plays so well. Steel is just being hard countered by the way that this Omen is playing. Is going to catch at least Wardell pushing onto the site. But the position that Subroza's in might catch somebody off. He is going to be looking towards Nitro, pushes onto the site. Isn't looking, but still whiffs the shot as 100 Thieves was able to kill onto Wardell. It's a 1 versus 3 now. Subroza has to clutch it. He's holding so close to this wall. Don't do a sooner here and die. And the spray is so awkward. And the defuse is going to come in for 100 Thieves. Much better from them. More proactive and could make this a lot closer.
Yeah, they managed to win a couple of the duels. I think the Steel one is duel over on the A side. We obviously saw the initial pick going their way as well. I liked that they were being more proactive. The only worry for me is in the fact that they won the round. Subroza still managed to gain way too much space. And as you said, it seems like he definitely has a bit of a read of where some of the utilities being used and countering it with his dark cover. Or even, in many cases, he can just get past it using his shadow step. So, the fact is here, there's been a few moments where 100 Thieves have been completely caught with their pants down. I'm sure this will be something that, when it comes back later, they'll definitely be having a little bit of a look through. The double up is going to be back in play. Steel purchasing up one of them, but as you mentioned, something that they wanted to test, wanted to throw in, was that ultimate. But the fact is, it's almost been used as a distraction. They even expected Subroza to be here, but he's still causing them issues, Ryan.
Hiko trying to work out if there's anybody else that's lurked, and he has the right idea. It is some space that Hazed has taken, but Steel has a keen eye on it. You don't want to give up too much map control. The turret's going to spot him at least if he does poke his head along A along. But I'm surprised that he got by Steel in this fashion. Just must be timing at this point. And Hiko, in his own spawn, trying to decide where he wants to hold because they have no idea where these 4 surviving members of TSM are. Steel with the operator does see a couple of heads, misses the shot and has to disengage using the nano swarm. He's just going to try and face hazed, but misses the shot again just because the peak is so
30
quick.
seconds left.
Is that making some space here, Tom?
Here.
Found a double entry into the site as well, what was looking so good
remaining.
for the side of 100
Standing.
Thieves has quickly fallen to just one man. Dicey, an operator, his Blade Storm popped. Fact is, it looks like he's still going to be giving this a go. He would need somebody to pretty much hand away a kill, and you can see that this is a regimented TSM. Got to give some props to their coach, I guess. We spoke to him earlier, and it seems like he has been getting them ready for this game, because that was clinical. A good off-the-plant hold, and 7-3 now in favor of TSM. A slight break, a back and forth, but realistically, with this many rounds already on the attacking side, I think they're going to be feeling pretty confident.
Similar to Ascent too, just the amount of rounds that they were able to get in this first half. And that momentum carried over to the second. 100 Thieves on this defense have not looked pretty at all. There's been moments where they've tried to dictate the play and it's worked out, but TSM going into this final round with a Hunter's Fury, going to be hitting the A execute steal without the operator this time. Wants to try and hold close at least, but TSM are aware of this and going to dedicate utility very early just to flush him out. But I like this angle that he's on. Unfortunately, doesn't quite get the peek onto Drone, who is just around that corner, but he's trying to find some sly little angle. He loves to do this on Bind 2, where he can catch people as they're pushing in.
Interestingly, Drone actually has the spike here. If he's looking to push aggressively, I'm not sure this is quite the play to make. Does he know that he has it? It seems a little bit risky, but the rest of the team, it doesn't seem to matter. Hayes has found a pick. Cutler is alongside him as well. And well, my initial thoughts about the spike seem like they're not going to play a part whatsoever, as the push will now come in. An after-plant position likely to ensue, even with the spam coming in from heaven. There's nothing that the remaining members of 100 Thieves can do, at least for now. But Nitro has managed to catch out the lurker. Now this gives them a lot more space to actually go for the retake. They know there's no longer a man waiting behind them, and they can start expending little pieces of utility. Asuna looking to potentially try and set up the remaining members of his team. The peak comes up, but Wardell wins the battle. The stationary offer is going to take that fight all day long, and they again are looking to hold on in this afterplant situation. Drone, another one, bites the dust as it's left onto the remaining two. Nitro, all he can do is try and save the extra op. It's a fantastic hold once more from TSM. And while 100 Thieves, this one's slipping away from them.
The only kill that they were able to get was the lurker in mid. Sub-Rosa
Last round
again.
in the
And there's a
half.
lot of cases where TSM get that first frag, 100 Thieves trade it out, and you go, oh, this could be close, but it is just some other player that's causing nightmares in their backline. And Steele's been caught out 4 and 7. He's not having a great game at all. No assists either on that Killjoy role. Tries to play off of utility or even plays a TSM are trying to put together, but he's just been hard read at this point. I thought that the Killjoy play would catch out TSM with so many other tier 1 teams in NA opting to play the Cypher more. I thought that would be a curveball that might be able to try and catch them, but to be honest, it's worked in TSM's favor. Eco can at least get a frag, gets a couple actually. It's up to 6 on this half at least, but Steele's wrapped around. There's a lot of information that it's not going to be A in these last 3. Well, Nitro's expecting the same sort of play with the alarm bot, so knows that Nitro's good. Sabrosa's going to be pushing in.
This one will be for free.
I
It's pretty cool to get it from that angle, though. The information that has been gathered, the utilization of his own dart cover to get past all the sneaky traps that have been placed, and as you sort of mentioned, use them against their opponent. Now, in the last map, we saw Wardell in a similar situation. He managed to get 4 kills with the operator, trying to be sneaky once again. The first goes his way, but Hiko is there waiting. No clutch this time, and the half will end with a victory for 100 Thieves. But
Switching
even still,
sides.
8-4 on the attack. That's a pretty decent half for TSM.
You can see just how TSM were able to take the lead with some of the replays from the first half. No, it's their time to defend. And it really comes into some of the plays that TSM were trying to run. This play especially, it was a super nice executor we haven't seen much of. And it really caught 100 Thieves out in this position. I like the idea that they tried to double stack on the boxes, but you can even see it done broken frame by frame at this point. But you gotta love some of the stuff that TSM's trying with the strategies. They're not hiding things in particular. Subrosa's just come into his own on that position. Mostly been playing the Brimstone and even in some cases Phoenix, but shows that Omen can be an aggressive role that he can get a lot of stuff done on. Now he's going to be defending over on the C site with a little bit of Cypher utility. But look how many bodies from TSM are stacked on A, expecting 100 Thieves to hit this site.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of pressure going in this direction recently, and more of a play to retake C, which I think B and C are definitely the easier of the two. Getting back into this site can be very difficult, so it's understandable why they've gone for something of the sort. They're actually selling a fairly hefty fake as well. Nitro throwing out all of his smokes, and although an initial shot does slightly land, it's dicey to get the open, and now Hayes just trying to utilize his utility. A plant in the open. They've made it all too easy for the plant to be denied, and Hayes just hitting some pretty tasty shots. No spike plant, and he's just got stuck on the wall. That couldn't have gone any worse for 100 Thieves. That is a crucial error that has really cost them.
Yeah, what was that planting
30
position
seconds
from Dicey? Wasn't expecting maybe the rotation to come in so soon, but very good read from TSM to not even let the spike get planted at that point. Hayes for some nutty shots. And I don't know, I feel like if we see this, say, for example, going 13-4 for TSM, I predicted 100 Thieves for this. I feel very clown-like from that prediction alone, certainly when you look at the scores right now, but I guess a lot of people, including myself, were sleeping on TSM. And 100 Thieves just haven't shown what they're capable of. It's weird. They just haven't been able to play Valorant, it feels.
Well, yeah, I'm loving the look of this new comp as well. I think Sub Rosa on the Omen is something I didn't expect to enjoy as much as I have.
Right?
Like, I thought, like, seeing him again, like, from a Counter-Strike background, being someone who was very good at like individual aim and entry frag, and I was like, oh, Phoenix, that makes sense. But he has proven to me that him playing in the lurk position with this agent has been truly impressive. He is going to get caught out here though, and maybe this is a lifeline for 100 Thieves that could bring them back from the depths. They managed to find a couple of openers. Asuna, likely he may get caught out, but actually it's going to be dicey to fall, and Wardell a little bit far away from the action. In fact, his teammates alongside him. They have managed to bypass, again, the turret just using smokes. I think that's the biggest problem with all of the utility that we see, though, from Killjoy is a simple smoke, and it's completely useless. Oh, dear.
Found him there. I mean, that's going to change for the new patch, but we're still on 1.10 at the moment. Could shake up who plays Sentinels, if any Sentinels get played at all. The role, not the team, by the way, but Wardell not looking to try and contest this. Trying to catch somebody maybe pushing through Garage after this spike gets deployed. And it all came from an opening shot from Steel. I was saying that they haven't been able to play Valorant, and then he just domes somebody with the Sheriff, so it's what you want to expect to see more. There were a lot of cases where 100 Thieves could have gone out of this tournament without qualifying. A bit more damage done for 100 Thieves there. But there was so much individual play from all of the players, to be honest. Steel had some amazing clutches. Nitro especially had a brilliant 3K on this map against Moon Raccoons. Eco, a completely changed player since the high ground roster. The shock darts have been impressive. His ultimates are always finding high value, but it's just not come to fruition. It reminds me of what teams say about G2, that G2 makes some of the European teams look worse because of how fluid they play. FPX have had that complaint. They've said that that's what happens to them in some cases. That's what I feel is happening here. TSM has just got such a read on 100 Thieves that it's making 100 Thieves look pretty devastating.
Cover going out.
Well, they've given themselves that lifeline, though. That's the biggest thing. They managed to win a round with what was a 4-spy. They steal some of the weaponry away, and now they come up with a pretty damn good purchase. Yeah, they've sent him in lurking. That's probably going to be a gun going in the other direction. But how many players does it drag? That's the real question. Because although they've
wrap
seen
around.
him, they're actually going to start pushing in the other direction. They believe this is going to be a hit in towards the seaside, especially now that Wardell's got a lot of information. I imagine the plant spot this time is going to be a little bit safer. Not wanting to give away that same positioning they did in the pistol. At the same time, though, this is still a 4 versus 4. Sure, the purchase on the TSM side is underwhelming, but they could make this costly, and there is still a gun in Wardell's hands, and I'm not going to count that out just yet.
You don't want these players to save, and already a bit of damage done. It's forcing Moment to move out. Nitro is still trying to hold on, trying to face as much as possible at least, but it's gonna almost get caught out by drone. At this point now, it's a case for TSM to try and save the guns that they have, even if they don't intend to use them in the upcoming round. They were able to get 1 kill on the post plant, but another round for 100 Thieves as expected with their buy. Now ultimates are starting to come up. We've got a Blade Storm ready to go for Dicey, but we haven't really seen too much impact, and he might just elect to save it for a save round instead of buying a gun. I'm quite happy with the Bulldog that he's got at the moment, at least, but it's a awkward buy for both sides. Some have money, but they just want to make sure that they get effective use out of the Stingers and the Bulldogs and whatever they have left. Never mind, Sabrosa sold his.
Yeah. I think that's the right decision. Like, this is a round where I'm interested to see how he would use a Stinger. I guess the main ploy would be to play towards Garage. Instead, though, it's actually going to be a very aggressive stance being made by TSM. They're going to go pushing through the sewers and be met by multiple 100 Thieves players. Already a double opener, and maybe we're just about to see a very attacker-sided
You should
map.
run.
Yeah.
There you go. There is the lockdown. Realistically, Sabrosa, he's waiting to see if anybody will peek in and see if he can do some damage, maybe take a peek, and he will actually get a kill at the Escape as well, just around the corner. Gives them much more of a chance in this retake.
Paranoia is going to come through.
Spike planted.
No Cypher alive even to use a camera, even if there was one, to try and catch somebody through the smoke, but he's feeling himself. A shot like that onto Steel was pretty impressive, and even that headshot from distance. Sabrosa is playing so good right now on this roll, but they need to watch the lurk. Nitro has actually made a lot of space, and whilst it hasn't got all of the frags in the world for TSM, there's only 2 alive, and even the peek's going to come through. Wardell pick up Pico as he makes a long. The 2v2, they're going to go for the defuse at this point because people have moved away. I mean, why not? Go for it. The smoke is going to come in. I don't think there's enough time for Wardell, but it's scared 100 Thieves to their team. He's still going to go for the defuse. He's got it.
He's got it.
Get that.
Oh, he actually got it at the end. That's absolutely ridiculous from Wardell. A round that never should have been. And that is a real kicker now for the 100 Thieves. They've just lost a round from basically just leaving the site, and I can bet my money that everything I've got that Wardell has probably one of the fattest grins you're ever gonna see. Problem though.
So smart though. Like, just to know that that opportunity was coming in. I mean, if you're Hiko there, if you're peeking like that and you have that opening for TSM to go in for the defuse, it's not going to be a big, massive grin on Hiko's face. He's going to be feeling pretty bad that that even happened. And the run it back is going to be used through mid from drone, but look how much space 100 Thieves is going to give him. Even putting some utility to try and stop him as much as possible. It's a good Molotov, and it scares away Steel just a little bit, but the timer ran out. A couple more seconds, that could have gone very differently. 10-6 for TSM. Still have a Blade Storm on both sides. But 100 Thieves are still going to be... Yes, 100 Thieves are still going to be reeling after that last round, though.
Well, the problem, though, for TSM is more so their own economy. Because although they do win the round, they basically lose everyone. So what that means is, well, the reason you're seeing Wardell currently with the Blade Storm is that's basically all he's got. He's only got a pistol remaining. Now, luckily, he is pretty clinical. I see it being a position where either he gets a load of kills or he instantly dies, so it's not going to be too much of a problem. On the other side, though, 100 Thieves have opted to take the B site, something we haven't seen too much
Spike
of.
planted.
The reason being, this site is rough to hold on to, and with kills coming in like that from Sub Rosa, it might be about to get a little bit worse. He's actually going to TV past. He's playing so well as the Omen so far in this game. Probably been my favorite thing about this match so far. And now it's left onto just 2 players remaining. Dicey needs to get one. It's no more ammo left for Sub Rosa though. However, the spike again is already being defused, and Dicey needs to get a move on if he's going to deny this. There's nothing he can do, and it will be an 11th on the board. Sub Rosa is playing lights out in this game, and I'm really glad that they've made the changes to their comp, because yeah, he's been playing sick.
Not top fragging in the server. That's actually surprisingly Nitro, 15 and 12.
Got some very good pistol kills out of him, didn't he? And also,
Yeah,
I think
true.
his lurk has actually been relatively effective so far on this attacking side.
And that was something that I wanted to see. When you're planting B, you have to take either garage control or get a move on and try and go for A-Link. You've got to take one of those outside areas of the B map. Doing the whole stay in the mid spray and pray often ends up with egg on your face, and it certainly didn't work for 100 Thieves there. They have a Hunter's Fury though. They fought for that R1C, and look how low Eco is. It's a play that needs to be forced, and the sooner caught out by some nice aggression on the side of TSM. Steel is on A long. He has the spike, but there's very little to work of with the buy that they have available.
Oh, we got there in the end, but information has been garnered, and TSM not far off taking this in a 2-0. Of course, this would at least eliminate 100 Thieves from what is the open bracket, but they've already made it through to the closed. In the meantime, though, a bit of an awkward position for Drone. It's going to be Dicey to open things up. The nano swarms over the top have done their job, that's for sure, but it still ends up in a 3v3 situation. Hayes, though, is already going to turn the tide and bring things back into the favor, and now with the spike drop,
30
it's an
seconds
awkward
left.
position for Nitro, trying to get past what is a pretty filthy crossfire. He has Hiko spamming in the shot darts to try and force one of the players to back off.
I have the spike.
Now they are going to be able to retrieve that spike at least, and after plant here comes the paranoia. In fact,
10
they're
seconds
just going to
left.
run straight through. They don't allow for any sort of plant, and they know where Hiko is. They know he needs to push, and Wardell will shut him down. 12-6 in favor of TSM. Just
Match
one
point.
round to close this out. 2-0.
That was one of the fastest retakes that I saw. As soon as they heard that plant coming in, they just dashed in the paranoia. It was so clinically clean from TSM. 100 Thieves, tournament point on the line. Still qualified, so they're not going to be too upset if they lose this, but not the most ideal scorelines to go down to. TSM, so dominant. Don't forget this team, they're still a contender in NA. For sure, and Wardell going to be playing short. He hasn't done this so far on the side, and yet again, this 1v1 with Dicey with the operators has mostly gone to Wardell at this point. It's an absolute masterclass so far, but as soon as he made a lot of space for himself, Wardell was expecting it though, yet again. And there's a stack on C prepared for a push, and these 3 surviving members of 100 Thieves going to be hitting A. They are going to be running into Cutler.
This is looking like the beginning of the end, unfortunately, for 100 Thieves. They've come up against one of the powerhouses of North America, and while they've had some close rounds, that's for sure. Fortunately, it was the defense that kind of let them down a little bit. Their offense has had its moments, but a few mistakes. The fuses in front of them have definitely gone amiss, and this man Wardell is looking to try and put them in the grave already. Spot one of the remaining members, and it's the same 2 players that try and hold on with timing. They're trying to get back in, but it's Drone to close things out. A 13-6 victory in favor of TSM, showing why they are one of the teams to beat at this moment. At the same time, though, definitely some work for 100 Thieves to do, but I'm looking forward to seeing what they'll come up with when it comes to the closed qualifier.
Yeah, it certainly didn't feel like a finished project for 100 Thieves at least, but TSM, I'm certainly after watching a Renegades game, there was left a lot to be desired, but they've shown me up, certainly, and a lot of other people that may have assumed that this was just going to be Sentinel stomping everybody. It's certainly not gone in that direction. If you are a TSM fan, this has been the best day for you at this point, with a decisive win over 100 Thieves and Sentinels going out the way that they did. It does mean that they will be playing either Cloud9 or the Slimy Bogeymen, which is on Nerd Street Gamers 2, if you want to check that out. I have no idea whether that game's finished or not yet, but considering how quick this was, I would be surprised if it's still going at this point. 100 Thieves, though, they're still qualified, they're still fine, but certainly going up against the big guns, if they run into the likes of Sentinels in the close qualifier, that could be a bit of a drastic approach.
Well, that's the surprising thing. I actually touch on that briefly. So Cloud9 actually won the first map 13-1, and I was like, okay, don't really need to pay attention to this anymore. And then the Slimy Boogermen actually won the second map 13-9. Either way, we are going to be jumping into a few highlights of what has just happened within this map. And of course, those highlights are brought to you by the guys at GoPath, who are the official delivery partner of Nerd Street Gamers. Use the promo code NerdStreet when you sign up on GoPuff, and you'll get $4 off your first 4 orders. It's a pretty good deal. Let's be real, guys. If you do want to get yourself in on that, make sure to use the code NerdStreet. Either way, we are going to be getting into our clips, and yeah, it was, to be honest, it was a pretty decent game. Like, I think there were definitely moments for 100 Thieves. As said, there were a few slip-ups here and there, and I think that, as you sort of highlighted multiple times, it did seem like there was a pretty decent read on what was being attempted, especially when it came to Steel. I feel like he was caught out so many times because his utility was just avoided by the side of TSM.
He went 7 and 14 on this map with an average combat score of 111. That isn't good. Surprisingly, on the side of TSM, it was Drone that had the better sort of showing. 16 and 11, same frags as Wardell, but he just seemed to have a lot more impact with the assists with plays like this. Every flash seemed to have so much more impact, and most importantly, it made sure that Asuna had a really quiet game. Nitro was the shining light on the team for 100 Thieves, as expected. But when it comes to the Omens, you've got to look at Sabrosa. Some amazing lurks, but this was my favorite. This flash is so unfortunate on Dehiko. Comes to and he sees that. But if there was any doubt that Wardell would have his moments, I don't know. I could still see both these teams get into the finals in December, but TSM is certainly going to be quite happy with their performance and the fact that they should have a much more easier time in the seeding process for the closed qualifiers too.
But that's going to be the thing that's really interesting for me now, is that I think if we look towards Europe like we normally do, being from Europe, it is almost 4 a.m. for me here. I'll just drop that in. That's why my eyes are so red, guys. Get your mind out of the gutter. Stop thinking about other things. But yeah, there's so many teams. When we look at Europe, we're picking maybe a few teams that I think that we're looking at to be those final 4. When it comes to North America at the moment, I genuinely have absolutely no idea. Because you've got so many teams that we expect a lot of, like TSM definitely being one of them. Another one, though, is Sentinels. And from what we saw today, it wasn't particularly impressive. Now I've got Gen G on my radar. Cloud9 as well are still within the running. You've got Envious up there as well. And then you've still got the likes of T1, who had lost today, but it was still a 3-map series. I think there is some serious openings. And I think the closed qualifier is going to be absolutely wild when we do get to it. Well, I don't know what you're thinking. Like, if you had to pick a team, one team that would definitely get through, who are you picking?
Gen G. I didn't expect to be saying that at the start.
I'm interested.
I feel like because they're such a new team, there's obviously going to be gaps in their play that can certainly be exploited, but I feel like they have the right mentality. And I still fancy TSM. Like, they're going to have a much harder time of it, to be honest. They could even run into TSM in the close qualifiers, depending on how the seeding process goes. So that would be a hell of a game. Only one of them maybe getting to the finals. Count me in to watch that. But there's still so much to be decided. We have other qualifiers coming up too. There's so many other teams that didn't get in. Like, certainly Moon Raccoons is one team that you expect to do really well. And Vox had a pretty bad showing. Maybe FaZe, like, let's be realistic in some cases. Like, a lot can happen in that time too, because you have the close qualifiers, then the other open qualifiers with UMG. So there is like an opening that they could improve. You got a new agent coming in, probably more balance changes, right? So it might benefit a team like all of the patches have recently benefited FPX and EU. It seems to be quite nicely fitting for them. Generally, there are so many teams over the last couple of weeks even that have come out of nowhere that mean the real deal. TSM were considered maybe not to be that anymore because of how much stuff has changed, but to me, they showed that they're convincing, and they're going to be going on further into the open qualifiers to get the best seed in that they possibly can at this point.
Yeah, they're probably the favorites now to take that number 1 seed. I'm hoping that we will have ourselves the bracket. I know that has been something that has eluded us throughout the day, so I don't know if there can be a little whisper in my ear to let me know if we do have that, because that is the end of the day, I believe. Like we are going to be heading into it. Do we have a schedule? That's the other question, because there are going to be more matches coming up tomorrow. So make sure you stick around for that. Of course, that's where we do get down to the nitty gritty of everything. That's where we do have our semi-finals coming up, which obviously it's not quite decided yet because there are still matches currently going on. Although I can have a look at obviously where we've ended up so far.
The first semi-final would be Gen G versus Envy, and that would be normal time tomorrow, basically, when the Sentinels Gen G game started today. Expect the same tomorrow, and the finals will be on Friday. Again, Team Solomid are going to be playing the winner of Cloud9 versus the Slimy Boogermen. If they got to the semi-finals, that is one hell of a run at this point, and it wouldn't surprise me if they get signed like that, honestly, just because that kind of run in a tournament, sometimes it can be a honeymoon period. It can just be a flash in the pan, so to speak, but it still says a lot about the capabilities of this team. And even if they go out against Cloud9, they took it to a third map, so that's a really good look for them, no matter how this goes. So they're going to be prepping. We're done for the day. We had some really exciting games that honestly kind of ended a little bit anticlimactically, to be honest. I think TSM and Gen G really surprised. We saw T1 have a bit of fun towards the end of Split 2, but some great games today, Tom.
Yeah, and then that's where we'll be wrapping it up. Of course, for any other information that you need, make sure to check out the Nerd Street Twitter, and just follow the channels. And channels, there's multiple. Make sure that you're following both at Nerd Street, the one you're currently on, and of course Jazada 2, and that will take you to the second one, which I believe is still going on. So you can go over there, check out the other matches. As said, that's us done for the day, but make sure you tune in tomorrow for more of the Nerd Street First Strike NA qualifier.